Hello and welcome to the Comics Atlas. This is the series in which we talk about the complete history of comic book characters. As promised on my latest video on Spider-Man, this week action on Daredevil will feature a crossover between both heroes. Let's hope Peter and Matt gel together well as we make our travel back to 1966. But just before we get to their adventure together, we have to cover one filler issue. It's the return of the Ox, infamous for his associations with the Enforcers and Mr. Fear. The giant is lingering in jail, but a scientist, Dr. Carl Strack, reassures him that someday they'll escape together. Effectively, they break out, putting Matt Murdock, Daredevil, on high alert. Strack convinces the Ox to get put in a machine to enhance his brain, but he lies and swaps bodies with the mammoth. Feeling powerful in both body and mind, the swap doctor ditches the Ox and gets going alone. Now wandering around the city, the new Ox finds one lonely Karen Page. When he tries to assault her, Daredevil comes to her rescue, but he's no match for a genius with a massive body. The police then wrongfully arrests him, but is left off after asking attorney Foggy Nelson for a favor. While Matt's in jail, the old Ox kidnaps Karen and takes her to his hideout where the old Ox is. The latter sucker punches the former, letting Karen run away. This gives time for Matt to track the villains. A fight on a roof ensures, in which the new Ox, with the mind of Dr. Strack, falls to his death. The old Ox, in the weak body, leaves the scene thinking the body swap was for the better. The last scene at Nelson and Murdock's show Foggy telling Matt that their new client is the blind vigilante. Okay, so the crossover is next. We open with Foggy, Karen and Matt watching Spider-Man on TV as we are reminded that both heroes already know each other. Our villain of the day is one masked marauder. His plan is to disguise his underlings as Daredevil, so Spider-Man is distracted and won't interfere in his other schemes. Right off the bat, Spider-Man falls for the bait and starts chasing the blind hero. No questions are asked when the two heroes actually come to each other. An agitated Spider-Man starts a battle on the roofs against Daredevil. Matthew is able to run away knowing he's no match for Parker on a long fight, but while they did battle, the masked marauder stole a powerful engine. Frustrated, Spider-Man goes swinging and his spider sense tingle just outside Nelson and Murdock's window. Seeing Foggy, Karen and Matt, he discards the woman and the blind man and deduces Foggy must be Daredevil. The three protagonists of this comic start trading verbal jabs with Webhead to try and defuse the situation. They come to a stalemate as the costume one decides to leave, not having any evidence of Foggy actually being the man without fear. While still being agitated, Foggy sees the opportunity to embrace Spider-Man's suspicions and impress Karen, pretending to in fact be Daredevil. Despite the fact that Karen has seen Foggy and the vigilante at the same time, she still wonders. Matt, by the way, only wonders what the hell his partner is thinking. When everyone leaves the office, Matt changes to his costume and goes on patrol on the rooftops of New York. He correctly deduces Spider-Man isn't the real heel, but rather the masked marauder. He spies on a conference for the stolen engine and hears it could be modified into a powerful weapon. At that moment, our hero comes with a plan to kill two birds with one stone. He tells J. Jonah Jameson to go on TV to explain the marauder's theft is incomplete without the filling to the engine and that he worked together with Spider-Man. Matthew is smart and knows this will force both men to come to a trap he's setting up. Peter comes first and they punch one another once again, but at the last minute cooler heads prevail. A blimp appears on the sky and both men know that's the real threat. They go to the rooftops and start making work of the marauder's underlings, but Spider-Man is distracted and falls prey of the villain's deadly blinding ray. Daredevil also gets hit, but of course he can get blinded twice. He's able to out-wrestle the marauder and ground the blimp, but in the chaos the masked marauder is able to get away. While on the act of escaping, he hears Karen and Foggy, who happen to be outside the building where the action occurred, speak about the identity of Daredevil. This catches the marauder's attention and Foggy gets put on his hit list for the future. By the way, Daredevil takes the glory of capturing the gang of criminals and also cleans Spider-Man's name of any association with them. What a nice friend. The last issue to cover for now is the debut of the Gladiator on issue 18. Foggy goes on full idiot mode and goes to a costume shop to get a Daredevil costume in his quest to impress Karen. The shop owner looks shady and secretly hates superheroes but decides to take the costume for the attorney. At a later date, they decide to further impress Karen by staging a battle between Foggy, who is definitely not Daredevil and a fake villain. Foggy accepts not knowing he's dealing with a madman. The shop owner is designing his own costume, which is more like an armor with blades on his boots and metal wrist shields. So the Gladiator is born with the hope to attract the real Daredevil and pick a fight with him. The plan goes as follows. Foggy will take Karen to a foggy pier, no pun intended. The villain will appear, at which point the fake Daredevil will put on his costume and save the day. The plan dies when the Gladiator knocks Nelson unconscious with one punch. He's lucky that Matthew was following him, and now the real man without fear fights the new unhinged villain. In the midst of the fight, Karen runs away, and as we meet Mr. Dunn, the building manager for the lawyer's office. Remember his name, he'll be important later. Anyway, the two men continue to struggle throughout the piers and into the waters. Ultimately, the augmented senses of Daredevil give him the edge as he knocks out the Gladiator. The police comes to clean the place and react to Foggy still in his costume and pretending to be the vigilante. We close out with Matt pondering about the absurdity of the situation and a way to confront Foggy as to avoid him putting himself in more dangerous situations. Let's think a little bit of what this crossover brought to us. It always calls my attention how these crossovers always make the heroes fight. Like it would have only taken a few words between both men to avoid a fight and take on the real villain together. Not even here can Spider-Man get a breath. Jameson still denounces him on Matt's book. It was nice to see Daredevil actually standing up for his counterpart. He's still the bigger man of the two apparently. What I look at on these special issues are the interactions between the headliners because the villains are as generic as they seem. Who cares about the identity of the masked marauder really? Foggy really got on my nerves for much of these issues. Him pretending to be Daredevil is a joke that runs his course instantly. The worst thing is Karen falling for it. I know at this point Marvel is almost allergic to write smart females, but come on, she always gets the crappy treatment with this and the corny romances. For the best of the rest, in the Ox story there are some leaps in logic, but the introspective aspect at the end of the issue is more than what I would have expected. The Gladiator seems like just a crazy guy for no reason, but his further exploration will give this story some context. Almost works as the opposite case of the Stillman in that way. We'll continue reading about him in the next weeks. Anyway guys, that's all for today. Don't forget to leave your like, share and subscribe down below. This is the Comics Atlas and I wish you all a nice existence.